boards, bags, bragging rights. This isn't just competition, it's connection. The toss, the talk, and the tension. Every shot says something. Every cheer means something. When the last bag hits the board, we don't just celebrate the win. We celebrate who we're with. Real cheers for a real American beer.
ACO, we are Cornhole.
Hey, what do you say, whole heads? It's your old buddy Finn, the loudmouth for the ACO. Welcome to a Taco Tuesday. Fred Gears did kind of a skip and hop back in town and then back out of town to another convention, another site visit. So in his honor and to pretend as if he's here, I'll do this. How about that? Does that look good? Is that enough? Is that enough cornhole dude for you? Or would, you know what? Actually, it makes more sense since he's on the front of the hat. I'll just leave it like this. But man, oh man, we are off and running in season 21. What a weekend we just came off of. If you were at any one of the three majors that happened this past weekend, you know it was family fueled and in some cases family feud. And we'll get to those here in the results here in just a moment. But the Kings were definitely holding court around the country, and you were able to check out some of it. We're going to get into this here in a moment on Facebook, some of it on YouTube. There was no streaming coming out of Lake Tahoe, but Facebook has once again changed something, so we couldn't put both Atlantic City and Toledo on at the same time. One was kicking the other one off and yada, yada, yada. So then based on stream keys and this and that and stuff that I'm too stupid to understand, Atlantic City pops up on YouTube and Toledo shows up on Facebook. We are going to continue to try to work this out because we do have other double up weekends where we want to be able to do both on both, and we'll figure out a way to work that out. But the bottom line is, if you didn't like what you saw, you weren't paying attention, because there was some great competition all the way around, whether Atlantic City, Lake Tahoe, or there in Toledo, which just keeps getting bigger and bigger. And again, we invite you to like and share all of our social media platforms, subscribe to the YouTube channel, lots of cool stuff there. The social media stuff that Kim Jackson is putting together, which yeoman's work, by the way, to have done all of that from Lake Tahoe for all three majors. Really good stuff, and you get a really good flavor and a flair for what was happening in all three cities. And make sure that when you subscribe to the YouTube channel too, that you hit that bell to get notifications when content is going up. So we appreciate all the hard work from everyone. We'll acknowledge all the individual teams here in just a moment, but thanks again, Kim. Really great stuff. We appreciate you. And those who were involved in the streaming we'll get to here in a moment. Also, if you are a player or somebody close to a player and you want to make sure that you're not missing anything that's on the kind of the inside as far as for the player specific knowledge about specific majors, make sure that you check out the ACO Season 21 Players Facebook page as well. We put overarching stuff and all the big stuff, big picture stuff on the main page, but stuff specific to an individual major can be found on that Facebook Season 21 Players page. So make sure you sign up and follow along there. We, in fact, just posted the updated list of bag partners. You see some of our bag partner samples right out here in front of me. New ones have just been confirmed as well, so make sure that your bag company is on that list. And if they're not, maybe give them a little ring and say, you need to get on there for me to be able to throw your bags. But some new bag companies coming on, one in particular that we saw in Toledo, so excited about that. And looking forward to a lot of new names, new games, new bags, all sorts of folks coming into the ACO, coming back to the ACO. And again, we'll touch on that here in just a moment. The scrolling down below, you'll see all of those approved bag partners there, so you can kind of watch alphabetically to see if yours is in there. And by the way, just a quick reminder, Monster Cornhole started up again July 1. Season 2 of Monster Cornhole in full swing, runs through December 31st. Again, this is a way for you to add, if you're a director for the ACO, you want to add something that folks can start accumulating points and prizes to your regular regionals. You can do that. You don't have to be affiliated with the ACO to play. You can be affiliated with anybody. You can be affiliated really with anybody to play ACO, but specifically Monster, and come in and play at the skill level that is shoulder to shoulder with your game. So if you're just getting started in cornhole, it's a good way to kind of come in and get a feel for it. And if it ends up leading you to a club or a group or a certified official director within the ACO or whatever, as long as it's helped grow the game, that's what Monster Cornhole is all about. And the standings are posted, and all the information that you need, whether you're a player or a director, are at monstercornhole.com. And we got a lot of results to get to, so let's do it. We're going to start, and we're going to do this alphabetically, the way that we posted the results on the Facebook page. So we'll start in Atlantic City. And thanks first off to the crew, Tammy and Junior Williams. Heinerman was there. Ryan LaBelle was there. Philip Barnett was a kind of a last-minute addition to come up and did some commentary. Appreciate him being there as well. And a little different weather than the last time when I was in Atlantic City. It looked like everybody had an opportunity to get out and dance if they wanted to out on the boardwalk. This fellow was feeling it for sure to the soundtrack of Ryan LaBelle hooting and hollering and egging him on. So you're seeing some slideshow stuff here from Atlantic City, and Man Bags were on hand. Killer Bees and Average Joes were all on hand, and it made for a good time in Atlantic City, especially for these particular folks. And congratulations in our women's singles, Kendall Cox, a name that you may remember from the Worlds in Tulsa. I think I mistakenly identified her as 16 years old. That was way older than she actually is, and she is tearing it up everywhere she goes, not just in singles, but with doubles partners as well. So she took down Dana Vivolo, and then Stacy Van Gilder comes in third in the women's singles in Atlantic City. Congratulations there. In senior singles, Scott Harper had himself quite a weekend. I saw that the Mississippi Ninja was in the finals of the seniors, and we were in Toledo, and I said I was going to go back and look in Scoreholio to see if he won. But I popped up the stream and I saw he was in co-ed next, and I could tell by his body language he did not win. It was kind of funny because I'm like, oh, I could tell by looking at him he is not the seniors champion. But anyway, came in second, nicely done. Scott Harper, congratulations. In juniors premier, it was Jacob Bagley over Isaac Hurt. And that right there is something, because you're going to pick up on one of these names again here in just a moment. In co-ed doubles, Stacy Van Gilder and the aforementioned Scott Harper took down co-ed doubles over Kendall Cox and Stuart Graham. Let's see, the blind draw quads, Blake Nowicki, Kevin Thompson, Kendall Cox, and Richard Hyder took down the blind draw quads. Congratulations there. And in the big blind draw, Kevin Thompson was fortunate to draw maybe the player who was the most on fire early on. That was Scott Harper for the big blind draw. So congratulations there. In Tier 2 doubles, it was Brent Litton and Lynn Miller. Tier 3, it was Freddie Collier and Brian Kaywood. In Tier 4, Desmond Mann and David Davis. And in Tier 5, Ruben Talinci, and Miriam Nowicki. So congratulations there. And in world doubles, you're probably not going to be all this surprised by what I'm about to tell you. However, if you were following along in Scoreholio early on, I do believe shockwaves were being sent around the cornhole world, because for a period of time, the Hurt Locker was in the Hurt Locker. That said, they ended up coming out victorious on the I Told You So tour as it continues in doubles. Isaac and Caleb Hurt took down Mike Silva and Jermaine King. Scott Harper and Jacob Bagley teamed up in doubles to come in third, so congratulations there. In singles Tier 2, it was Wes Carroll. And Tier 3, Dana Vivolo. Tier 4, Brian Kaywood. And Tier 5, Ben Bogdanowicz. So congratulations to all of you for your tier hardwood and hard-won victories. And in singles, it came down to it again. It was a tie for 7th. Justin Gibson and Blake Nowicki. Jacob Bagley and Logan Collins tied for 5th. Stuart Graham 4th. Justin Stansberry comes in 3rd. And it was a battle of the brethren for the top spot. And this is where the family feud came into play. It was Isaac versus Caleb. And Isaac came out on top. In fact, Isaac put Caleb into the loser's bracket. He fought back through the loser's bracket to battle younger brother and one of the kings that was out on the road this past weekend. Isaac comes out on top. So congratulations, brother. Nicely done. And he's grabbed his first singles victory of the season, but points are racking up big time already for a lot of individuals and a lot of teams. And we'll get to that here in just a moment. Let's take you from way out east to way out west. Let's go to Nevada, Lake Tahoe. Gorgeous. What an outstanding. I mean, you think about the two different cities. You got that giant Ferris wheel out there on the boardwalk, and the boardwalk itself right there in Atlantic City. just a spectacular vista, whether you're in any one of the hotels or just walking up and down the boardwalk. And then you take it out to nature at its finest. And Lake Tahoe, as a matter of fact, we saw our friends TJ and Darren from Medford came down, not pimping the Medford Worlds. I mean, certainly they were, anybody who wanted to talk to them about it, but they came down to play. And they came from, I say this every time, Crater Lake to Lake Tahoe. I mean, right there, equal majesty between the two. And so it was good to see the Medford boys out there partying, and the Cornhole dude, Frank Gears, was out there just making sure that the venue and everything was where he expected it to be, and he couldn't stop saying enough great things about it. So thanks to the entire crew, Michael Mann and his crew. Like I said, Gears was there, and the tournament was being run remotely by Aaron Candler, who is running it out of Toledo, doing double duty there. So thanks to Aaron Candler. Zero Bag Company and Pitch Bags were on site representing there in Lake Tahoe. And the results are as follows. Kim Jackson continues her dominance of the women's division, at least the majors that she's attending. She's 3 for 3 now with 3 tournaments under her belt over Jessica Clark. This particular time in singles, get out of here, with Scott Swenson, who you saw us feature in the first episode of the Taco, who really had a fantastic Tulsa World Championships. But Scott Swenson, congratulations over Wade Morgan, who took second. In juniors premier, it was Braden Connolly over Julian Lopez. Well done there, Braden. Co-ed doubles, Jessica Clark and Braden Connolly take first over Kim and Chad Jackson. In blind draw quads, it was Blake Schrader, Nate Riddle, Josh Winkleman, and Chad Jackson. So Chad Jackson takes home another piece of hardwood. I swear these two have to buy, like the Hertz and a host of others do, more luggage to track all of the hardwood back home. And in the blind draw, it was Scott Swenson, again coming out on top with Blake Schrader over Jeff Reed and Wade Morgan. So congratulations there. In World Doubles in Tier 2, Robert Bachma and Sean Ham took Tier 2. Mark Ham and Asher Plummer took Tier 3. Angus Matlock, that's a cool name. I like that name, Angus Matlock. That seems like it almost seems like a superhero name, like maybe an alter ego. That's pretty cool. And Michael Parker took Tier 4. David Walker and Luke Walker teamed up to take Tier 5. Congratulations there. And in World Doubles in Lake Tahoe, Braden Connolly and Karsten Morris, Karsten with a K, Karsten the younger, took it to Phil Swanson and Josh Neville, but Swanson and Neville came out victorious to take World Doubles in Lake Tahoe, and congratulations there. Let's see. Singles, Tier 2. Bryce Alcantara comes out on top of Tier 2. Angus Matlock, Tier 3. Chad Harris takes Tier 4, and John Del Favreau took down Tier 5. And in singles, all the way through, it was Jonathan Zarzinski who made his way out of Texas to tie for 7th with Riley Fording. Asher Plummer was tied for 5th with Nate Riddle. Josh Neville comes in 4th. Karsten the K, Karsten the younger. Morris takes 3rd. And Braden Connolly fought Gavin Lesh for the singles title. Gavin comes out on top. And you see the group shot there. Everybody seemed to love the venue and have a good time. So good stuff there. Congratulations to Gavin Lesh for taking our first Lake Tahoe singles championship. And we're looking forward to being back out there. Apparently everything went really well. Just beautiful part of the country again. And it's one of those where if you have an opportunity to go someplace you've never been versus someplace that you have been, makes perfect sense to go out and explore. And that's what a lot of folks did. Now, that said, while these two things are happening on either side of us, planted right here in the middle, just about 3 hours north of where I sit right now, Toledo, Ohio, the Glass City, continues to kick glass and take some names. And if you were there for the first year, a couple of years ago, you saw that big wall there in the ballroom. Eventually, they're going to have to take that wall down or move it back one section, because this just keeps getting bigger and bigger. And the one thing I noticed about Toledo, where there were so many players that could come and play on Friday and then go home, sleep in their own bed, and then come back Saturday. They were within 30, 45, 90 minutes of there. So it's just going to keep getting bigger in Toledo. And we did sell out. In fact, it was oversold. So when we tell you about majors that you've come to know to be very popular, South Bend, Clarksville, Knoxville, a host of others, Tupelo possibly. When we tell you to get those tickets as far in advance as you can, even through the new Cornhole ticketing system, make sure you do that, because it sucks that somebody comes thinking they're going to be able to walk up, which you can now do again via the Cornhole system, and then be told, we're completely and fully booked. Now, ideally, Toledo will be able to expand the space and make it bigger. But again, we tell you to get these tickets early for a reason. Not every major does that, but the ones that do will continue to do so, and some will sneak up on us like this one did. Thanks to Clinton Bilo, Sean Priest, Russell Tabers, who just celebrated a birthday, I think, yesterday. So happy birthday, Russell Tabers, who is disappearing before our very eyes, by the way. Craig and Ashley Irvin, as always. Burton Grimes, whatever it takes, Cornhole, for setting up and doing yeoman's work there on the broadcast. And also thanks to Dylan Ledbetter from CBC. He wasn't there as a streamer, but he was there to play. And he did sit in because he wasn't playing doubles, sat in with Burton and did a great job covering off on doubles coverage before we went into the marathon that was singles coverage later that day and well into the next morning. So thanks to everybody there on the crew. IMF was there. Why So Serious Cornhole was there. Breaking Records Cornhole was there. Ruthless was there. And a brand new bag company, Vibe Bags, which is basically the love letter to Cornhole from one Jeremiah Ellis. And this was where we saw the family fueling. And this was the return of a couple of kings. 4 kings, 1 building, first time ever. Reigning king Sebastian Barger. Standing king Craig Irvin, the return of Jeremiah Ellis and his family, all of whom were there, by the way, and Eric Zockline, EZ. And it's funny because a couple of weeks ago, I gave you a hint. We said a mystery key that should be pretty easy to figure out. And I think the only person that caught on to that was Andrea. So she goes, I saw you. I knew what you were doing there. But it was great to see them. Their friend Jess came out with him. She and Andrea played together in doubles. And EZ came in, and about 15 minutes in, I think he started feeling exactly the way he always did. Jeremiah, the same thing. And a lot of players we hadn't seen before. It's funny because I talked to Charlie Case. He goes, I see a lot of faces I've never seen before. And that's exactly what season 21 has been and will continue to be about. More faces and games coming into the ACO from other leagues, whatever. And I would tell you this too. One of the great things about it was the number of players that I had never met before that came up and made a point, even while we were streaming, to just start talking to us while we were streaming, saying, dude, this has been the greatest cornhole experience I've ever had. We can't thank you enough for how much everybody welcomed us and how great the competition is. And that's one of the questions that I'd asked EZ. I said, and Jeremiah, I said, since you've been gone, which is, a couple more years for EZ than for Jeremiah, what's the biggest surprise to you coming back in? And that's exactly what they said was the level of competition. And we wondered which of the 4 kings, if not all 4 kings, would make it into the final bracket of 8. You know how many made it? 1. You know who that was? The reigning king, Sebastian Barger, who continues to be on a heater. And he wasn't originally going to be in Toledo. He booked in late. And he was doing homework while he was there. We caught him on camera with his laptop doing some sort of smart guy stuff. I don't know what it was. I barely turned this laptop on, much less be able to do whatever he was doing. But the only one of the 4 kings to make it into that final bracket of 8. And we'll get to those results here in just a moment. But man, oh man, was it a great weekend for cornhole all around the country, particularly in Toledo. So let's get to these results. And in women's singles, I mean, you saw games and you heard names that you've heard before, but there were a few that popped in there to really challenge some of the big names in games. And Rebecca Fields was one of them. She came in a house of fire, was sitting in the queen seat, as a matter of fact, and got double dipped by McKenna Kopp. And Kennedy Meineke comes in 3rd in women's. Brian Higginbotham came in and double dipped Ken Goodhue out of the king seat for the seniors championship. In the juniors challenger match, it was Micah Pennington over Ashton Ellis. So congratulations, Micah. In juniors premier, Amari Scott, you've heard that name a bunch already this season, over Kellen Pritchard. And those two teamed up a little bit later on and took home some other hardwood. In the blind draw quads, it was Adam Alessandro, the newly sheared Adam Alessandro. I didn't even recognize him. He sheared off all of the ginger flowing locks, and now he is streamlined and built for speed and ready to go. Jason Lalonde, Drake Poole, and Brandon Earls took down the blind draw quads. In co-ed, it was Kennedy Meineke and Sebastian Barger, three-peating now. 3 majors, 3 co-ed championships under their belt as well. Maxing out is going to be something we're talking about earlier this year, I think, than we ever have. The blind draw quads, let's see, I already did that one. Yes. Blind draw quads. Oh, okay. In the blind draw, this is just the blind draw, not the quads. There were 2. Drake Poole and Daniel Wine came out of bracket A, and in bracket B, it was Kellen Pritchard and Amari Scott teaming up, who I told you they battled for the juniors premier division. They ended up as the overall winner in the blind draw, did Kellen Pritchard and Amari Scott. In doubles tier 2, it was Zane Krotz and Sean Priest. Congratulations. Ryder Pickering and Bo Bialchik came in tier 3 tops. In tier 4, Mitchell Dawson and Jake Updike took home the hardwood. And in tier 5, Molly Blevins and Lundy Blevins came in as teams to take down tier 5. And in world doubles, man, oh man, Craig Irvin partnered up with Tony Mayball, and Tony's one of the guys who specifically was couldn't stop raving about the experience. A guy new to the ACO, glad to have you, Tony. But they tied for 7th in doubles with Sebastian Barger and Daniel Wine. Daniel Wine had a really, really good weekend as well. We saw quite a bit of him on center court. Evan Vanos and Dan Schulten were tied with TJ Miller and Steve Smith, who are always somewhere up in that top 10 when they partner up together. They tied for 5th. Caleb Beltran and Tyler Stratton were 4th. Dale Borntrager and Cameron Kantz were 3rd. And then this was a battle. Chris Norris and Carter Bennett and Cody Brewer and Nate Stevens battled through doubles. And this was, sometimes you're watching a match and you can see when a switch flips in somebody. And this was about midway through the match. I think it was that Nate Stevens, he was struggling, and I was listening to Burton and listening to Dylan as they were calling the match, and they were like, man, the guy's really having a problem kind of honing in on exactly the shooting that he wants to accomplish. And then all of a sudden, bang, it flipped. The switch flipped, and he started going nuts. And he and Cody Brewer ended up taking down the doubles championship. How was that going to parlay over into singles? Well, exactly as you might think. Once you find yourself on that heater, you tend to stay there. And the same thing happened with his opponent in the singles final. But let's get to tiers play first. Ryder Pickering takes tier 2. Marshall Fletcher takes tier 3. Chip Brown, tier 4. And Mitch Feltner takes tier 5 in singles. But here's another name, Alec Ryan, a guy who was playing, I think, his first ACO major, coming in from elsewhere, and played great guns and got a lot of love on the chats. Tyler Stratton and Robert Alisea were in there as well. Well, Tyler tied with Alec for 7th. Robert Alisea and David Riley. Riley, who came in, and he told me very early on, he goes, I'm feeling it. I'm going to do great. And he did. He was go, go, go. And Riley's one of those guys, when he's in the room, you know it. And we had a lot of those in the room. You definitely heard him before you saw him. Trey Brown takes 4th. TJ Miller battled mightily and took 3rd in singles. And it was Sebastian Barger who also had a switch flip, because we were talking about he was losing bags off into what I call the back porch, the area between the hole and the back of the board. He wasn't losing them off the back, but when he missed, he was missing back behind. And we started questioning some of his shot making and why he wasn't getting that right to left cut the way that he normally does. And Patrick was in the chat going, yeah, he's just finding a groove. He's on cruise control. He's going to switch bags after this match. You'll see, da-da-da. Well, he didn't switch bags immediately, but he did burn his way back into a battle for the singles championship with Nate Stevens. But Nate was still rolling, and he came in and got it done well into the wee hours of Sunday morning. But it was a great battle, and Nate Stevens takes Sebastian Barger down for the singles champion. He takes down the king, and Sebastian, when he went to get his check for coming in second, kind of snatched it and said, I'm getting sick of this, whatever. And he was talking to himself, because I think that's 3 now and 3 second-place finishes. But I'm going to tell you something. If he starts out as hot as he has, the way he finished to become king of Cornhole, this is going to be a very interesting season. Because the other thing is, and we've seen the Hertz do this, They max out as early as they can, and then they pick and choose where they go the back part of the season. Sebastian coming in hot off of a King of Cornhole performance in Tulsa, he's going to have to pick and choose some things too, and it behooves him to max out as often or as quickly as he can because of school. He's got work he's got to do for school. So it'll be interesting to see. We saw him come in hot on the back half of the season last season. Will he kind of have to bridge a hot start and a hot finish somewhere in the middle of the season? I don't know. And these are the kind of stories that we're going to be following now that we've been thinking about following them. And we're seeing more and more of these trends. It'll be really interesting to see how this comes about. Now, that said, they're not the only ones that are playing hot. I mean, EZ came in and he had himself one hell of a tournament, his first one back. Jeremiah, he was there. He was there for the family stuff, the vibe bags. He had 3 of his kids playing. He ended up drawing one of them in a blind draw, got to play with one of his kids, which was awesome. And his 4th child showed up there. And I will say Burton had the line of the tournament, I think, because his kids are Axton, Ashton, Aspen, and Arizona. Those are his kids' names. I think I got them all right. And if I missed one, I apologize, but Burton sat down with, and we had a chance to chat with each one of the Kings individually. And he said, Jeremiah, is that the closest to 4 A's you've ever been in your whole life? I wanted to take credit for that line and use it, but I'm like, dude, that's all you. That was very well done. And to his credit, Jeremiah goes, no, man. He goes, I didn't get my first B in school till 5th grade. He goes, people think I'm dumb. I'm not as dumb as you think I am. But they did great. I think Vibe Bags really made an impression again. Weiss's Serious Cornhole was there. Breaking Records was there. Ruthless was there. IMF was there. And so there were plenty of bag makers being represented. And Vibe is a good name because I will tell you, everybody kept talking about the vibe in the room, and they weren't just talking about the bags. They were talking about just the room itself. It was a beehive. In fact, I pulled in to the Glass City Center, and I should have sent you this video to use, but the sound might not have worked as the way I wanted it to. But I pulled into the garage, and I got out, and I was getting my stuff out of the car. I'm like, what is that noise? And I listened, and I looked up, and I could hear the bags hitting the boards so thunderously on Saturday morning through the concrete and the soundproofing in the garage. It was a beehive of activity in the Glass City Center. But thanks to everybody everywhere we went for all of the hospitality. It was amazing. Oh, hang on. Let me see something. Oh, thanks to Mike Walters and Average Joe's in Atlantic City with the setup and teardown. Okay. Yeah, and we always like to do what we can to recognize anybody that lends a helping hand, so we certainly appreciate that as well as we go around and thank the crew. We know who we have on the schedule, but I would tell you there were a lot of folks helping out because we ran late, and but Jessie Hempy, and that the Hempys are the other ones that I meant to mention because she crushed it. She ran most of Saturday, if not all of Saturday, and Candler was there helping with Lake Tahoe and doing some stuff, writing checks and doing things. But Jessie Hempy, I saved the best for last. You did an incredible job. Barry, thank you for everything, for your help. And I'm sorry that I missed you in the earlier call out, but I'm glad I got a chance to highlight everything that you did because as overstacked and as amazingly powerful as those brackets were, that stuff started on time and we were blowing through. And it brings up another question. We were getting people in the chat saying, well, how come this game isn't, there are 4 brackets in singles, 4 main brackets. How come we're watching this game in a loser's bracket, but we're not watching this game because you can't really do that and keep moving. We'd still be there playing if we did that. Now, ultimately, one day, if we can make one massive giant bracket, which I do believe is the ultimate goal, we'll be able to pick and choose and work that way. But to stick with a bracket, and you'll see, for instance, here in Hamilton for the Spooky Nook Major, CBC will take a bracket and we will take a bracket and we'll be able to run through those two. But to stop and start and stop and start and wait on people in this game and that game to finish, there's a lot of dead space. And it gets in the way of moving everything forward. So mathematically, it's just impossible. With one center court, you can't have every one of what you would believe to be the best matches at any given time. But we try to make the most of the matches that we have. And you get to see players that you never get to see on center court sometime, which is fun and probably stressful for them. But when we notice that makes it more fun for us. So anyway, don't forget also, if you're new to the ACO, when you get and you will receive a survey, and check your spam folder for these surveys. We use these to give feedback to the cities that we visit. They find that invaluable to find out what we did while we were there, where we stayed, how we liked it all. And we know that you guys spread out, share houses, rent, Airbnbs, and that sort of thing. Whatever feedback you can provide is invaluable to the host cities. So if you're new to the ACO, be on the lookout for that survey. Please fill it out. You have an opportunity to win free entry to upcoming tournaments just for filling it out. I do not have survey results this week for last week, but we will have a bunch to share with you next week before we are off to 2 different majors. One, Prince Edward Island, Canada, Charlottetown, Canada. The other, the Legends Major in Texas, just outside Texas A&M. So what better way to segue into the upcoming schedule? September 26 and 27, again, ACO Canada, the first of 2 majors. One in September, one in May. Legends Major, 2 at Legends this season as well. So also September 26 and 27. Now, October 3 and 4, that's the Spooky Nook Hamilton Major. That's the first Pro Series Skins Major that we have. And I do expect all of our Kings will be there. And that includes Isaac, Easy, Jeremiah, Craig, Fergie, who was the only King not in action this weekend, and of course Sebastian. So we expect that to be a monster major. So make sure you get yourself entered into the divisions. And remember, each individual division now is up for ticket purchase through the website, which takes you into Scoreholio, where you can also buy memberships, 3 different levels of memberships. So make sure you check all that out. It's a little bit different, a little bit more streamlined, and it also allows you to kind of look at the roll call as it's building, which is kind of cool. So October 3 and 4, Spooky Nook, Hamilton, Ohio. October 10 and 11, we double up again. Medford, Oregon. If you haven't been out there, get out there and get a preview of what the Worlds are going to look like, not this season, but next. Get out there and see TJ and Darren. They'll be more than happy to guide you to all sorts of kick-ass places to go see in and around Medford. That will be happening the same weekend, October 10 and 11, as Albertville, Alabama. Very cool venue there as well. October 17 and 18, doubling up again, Salt Lake City and Kansas City. And had some back and forth with Magnum from Basement Bags. They're going to be hosting a very cool welcome bash in Kansas City. But if you're heading to Salt Lake City, get in there and get it done. October 17 and 18 for both of those. The lacrosse major, again, keep in mind, it's been moved back 1 week. It will now be Halloween weekend, October 31st and November 1st, La Crosse, Wisconsin, but it's the only one that weekend. November 7 and 8, just one that weekend as well. That's going to be in Upland, California, the Upland Major, November 7 and 8. 14 and 15, Tupelo and Pocatello. I think we did this last year. I think we had Tupelo and Pocatello because I remember the O's at the end for some reason. Same weekend. That's November 14 and 15, November 21 and 22. Doubling up that weekend as well. That's going to be Manheim, Pennsylvania. That's the original Spooky Nook. And that one is continuing to grow as well. So for those of you in the Northeast who couldn't make it to Atlantic City, or last year when we went out to Maine or Buffalo, this is your opportunity in the Northeast to come and be a part of what is a very cool major, Manheim, Pennsylvania, Spooky Nook. Also, that same weekend, November 21 and 22, we'll be at the Weston Lake Las Vegas Major. And I've been told that is a really cool area just outside Las Vegas proper, the Strip and all that. You're going to love the facility. And that's one maybe I'm hoping to get out to. Maybe go see the Wizard of Oz, take a day trip up and go see the Wizard of Oz at the Sphere. That's something I want to go do as well. But basically everything you need to know about what happened this past weekend and what's coming up through before we get back up to South Bend for Thanksgiving weekend. Whew, and I did that all with one breath, all of it. Amazing. I didn't really. Hey, so again, more than anything, thanks to everybody that came out, whether it's Atlantic City, Lake Tahoe, or Toledo. Thanks again to Tammy and Junior. Thanks to Heinerman, Ryan LaBelle, Philip Barnett, Michael Mann, his crew, Gears, Candler, Clinton Bilo, Sean Priest, Russell Tabers, Craig and Ashley Urban, Burton Grimes, and of course, Barry and Jesse Hempy. Again, Jesse, you were the foundation upon which Toledo was built. You and Aaron, very well done. Appreciate all your efforts. And of course, thanks to Margaret Barrett for fielding all of the results and getting them back to me in time to be able to do this. We appreciate so much of what goes on behind the scenes and people that you don't often get to hear about. Tom Latham, again, for all the graphics that were posted yesterday. That was a lot of work to get all those out there, but it is the proper recognition and tipping our hat where the tipping is due. So on behalf of Gears and everybody within the ACO family, whether you were family fueled or family feud this past weekend, it was quite something, and season 21 is off and pitching like no other season we've ever had. This is exactly what we've always wanted to see, and it just keeps getting better season after season after season. And for those who were part of one of 3 family reunions, that's awesome. And if some of you were part of a homecoming, that's outstanding as well. So on behalf of the Cornhole Dude and everybody here at ACO HQ in the underground, I am Finn, the loudmouth for the ACO. We'll have picks next week. We'll have survey results and so much more as we get ready to head to Canada and Texas, respectively. But in the meantime, on behalf of Frank Gears, the Cornhole Dude, have a great rest of your Taco Tuesday. And as always, remember, keep on pitching.
Around here, light can bring out the best in you. It can make you believe you'll find the buried treasure. Tempt you to bet on yourself. Convince you there's room for one more bite. And beg you to stay out way past your bedtime. Don't say we didn't warn you. Come find your island, Prince Edward Island.
Hi, I'm Rich Pyle, the host of Hole Nation, where we share everything this cornhole and a lot more. Follow us on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, and catch our new videos every Wednesday at 7. And remember, whether it's sticky or slick side down, bring it.